The last sliver of sunlight melted behind the towering pines, casting the sky into a canvas of deep purples and dusky blues. A single star flickered into existence, followed by another, as the night stretched its fingers across the wilderness. Sitting motionless on her porch, Elira Thorne let the cool evening air settle around her, her frail hands resting lightly on the arms of her wheelchair. Beside her, the Grizzly remained, a silent guardian in the encroaching twilight. She knew it wouldn't stay forever. It didn't belong here, tethered to the presence of an aging woman bound to a chair. The bear was part of the wild, unrestrained, and untamed forest that owed nothing to her. And yet, here they sat, a woman and a beast, two solitary souls drawn together in the vast, indifferent wilderness. No words were exchanged, no explanations sought. Only understanding lingered in the space between them, fragile and unspoken. Elira exhaled, allowing the weight of her solitude to ease. Tonight she was not alone. That, in itself, was a gift. Darkness deepened, bringing with it a creeping chill, but the nearness of the bear radiated warmth. Its slow, steady breaths rose and fell in rhythm with the whispering wind through the trees. She felt strangely anchored, as though the earth beneath her had steadied in a way it hadn't in years. Then, in the distance, a disruption, a low hum that pulsed against the stillness of the night. A truck? Elira's eyes sharpened as she listened. The sound grew closer, the grumble of tires crunching over the dirt road. She had nearly forgotten. Ronan came every few weeks to check on her, bringing supplies and making sure she hadn't been claimed by the wilderness. The Grizzly lifted its massive head, ears twitching at the approaching vehicle. Its muscles tensed, sensing the shift in the air. For the first time, Elira felt a flicker of unease. Would the bear perceive Ronan as a threat? Would Ronan, unaware of the delicate balance holding this moment together, act rashly? The headlights of the truck carved through the trees, bouncing over the uneven terrain. As the vehicle neared, its beams illuminated the porch, revealing her, unmoving, and the towering form of the bear at her side. The truck screeched to a halt. The driver's door swung open. Ronan stepped out, boots crunching against the gravel as he froze in place. Even in the dim light, Elira could see the shock etched into his face. His breath hitched, his body stiffening as his hand instinctively drifted toward his belt, toward the weapon she knew he carried. "Don't!" Her voice, though quiet, carried through the still night. Ronan's gaze flickered to her, then back to the bear. The Grizzly turned slightly, its dark eyes locking onto the man standing beside the truck. It did not move to attack. It did not bristle with aggression. It merely observed. For several heartbeats, no one moved. Then, as if sensing the moment had passed, the bear exhaled deeply. Shifting its weight, it rose with slow, deliberate movements, its powerful limbs stretching as it stood. Elira watched, a strange mixture of gratitude and sorrow unfurling in her chest. She knew what was coming. The moment was ending. Ronan remained frozen as the bear turned, moving toward the trees with a quiet, lumbering grace. It did not rush. It did not look back. It simply disappeared into the darkness, swallowed by the wilderness from which it had come. Silence clung to the air long after it was gone. Ronan let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding, running a hand through his hair. "Elira," he murmured, shaking his head. "That was a full-grown grizzly. Sitting next to you, just sitting there." "I know." He took a hesitant step closer, eyes scanning her for any sign of injury. Are you okay?" She turned to meet his gaze, a small, knowing smile touching her lips. "I am." She wasn't just okay. She was changed. Something inside her had shifted. She had spent years fearing the world, fearing loss, fearing the quiet ache of loneliness. But tonight she had been reminded of something she had long forgotten. Fear wasn't always the answer. Even the wildest of creatures could show kindness. And sometimes, when you least expected it, The universe sent you a reminder that you weren't as alone as you thought. Days passed, but Elira never forgot. She spent her mornings watching the tree line, half hoping, half expecting to see a familiar shape moving through the underbrush. At night, she sat on her porch, feeling the presence of something unseen. She never saw the bear again, not the way she had that night, but she felt it. One evening, she left a small piece of food at the edge of the clearing, not close enough to call the creature back, but enough to acknowledge what had passed between them. The next morning, it was gone. As the seasons shifted, winter settled over the land in a hush of white. Wrapped in a thick woolen blanket, Elira sat on her porch, watching the snow gather in drifts along the tree line. The world had not changed. The mountains remained indifferent. The wind still howled through the pines. And yet, something was different within her. She had learned something she would carry with her for the rest of her days. Fear and survival had their place in the wild. But so did trust. So did understanding. And sometimes, in the most unexpected moments, even the loneliest souls could find connection in the unlikeliest of places. Even in the heart of the wilderness, you were never truly alone.